The wealthy man had left his entire fortune to a woman no one in the family knew. But when his children discovered who she was, they were utterly stunned. The sunlight softly illuminated the spacious hall, filled with flowers and guests. Yet the mood in the house was anything but festive. Victor, the head of the family and one of the most influential men in the city, had been buried the day before, leaving behind not only a vast fortune, but also many unanswered questions. At the center of the room, behind a massive wooden table, sat the family's lawyer. In front of him lay an envelope containing Victor's will. 3 heirs were gathered around: Andrew, the eldest son and Victor's pride, Marina, the striking and impulsive daughter, and Igor, the youngest, who had always been the family's black sheep. Andrew sat straight, absent-mindedly twirling an expensive pen between his fingers. He had always been certain he would inherit the bulk of his father's estate. "Well, shall we begin?" he said calmly to the lawyer. Marina, unable to hide her impatience, leaned back in her chair. "Let's just get this over with. I don't have all day." Igor sat silently, staring out the window as if none of this concerned him. The lawyer opened the envelope, took out the papers, and began to read. "I, Victor Alexandrov, being of sound mind and memory, hereby declare this to be my last will and testament." His voice was steady, and the room fell completely silent. At first, everything sounded predictable: property, business assets, and accounts were listed one by one. But then the lawyer's tone changed as he reached the final clause. "And I leave the main portion of my estate to Catherine Summers, including my personal savings and controlling shares of the company." The room erupted in disbelief. What nonsense is this? Who on earth is Catherine Summers? Marina shot up from her chair. Andrew frowned, struggling to stay composed. "This is some kind of joke, right?" he demanded, glaring at the lawyer. Igor, who had shown no interest until now, suddenly perked up. "Well, this just got interesting," he said with a smirk. The lawyer raised his hand for silence. "It's no mistake. Mr. Victor Alexandrov personally confirmed and signed this will before his death. Catherine Summers, it was his will." "I don't understand," Marina cried. "We're his family. Why would he leave his money to some stranger?" Andrew took a deep breath. "Where is she? Why isn't she here?" "Miss Summers will be here in an hour," the lawyer replied. "She was informed of the reading of the will." "Fine," Andrew said curtly. "Then we'll wait." That hour felt like an eternity. Marina paced the room, whispering furiously to Andrew. Igor looked unusually relaxed, observing his sibling's agitation. "Do you think she's his mistress?" Marina muttered. "Don't jump to conclusions," Andrew warned, though deep down he feared the same. Finally, the door opened, and in walked a woman. Catherine Summers. She was elegant and composed, with dark hair tied neatly in a bun. Her calm, confident manner immediately drew everyone's attention. "Good afternoon," she said, stepping toward the center of the room. "And who exactly are you?" Marina demanded, folding her arms across her chest. Catherine paused, meeting each of their eyes before speaking. "My name is Catherine Summers," she said evenly, "and I'm here to explain why your father left his entire fortune to me." The room fell deathly silent. Victor's children exchanged bewildered glances, trying to understand who this mysterious woman was, and what had tied her to their father. Was she a mistress? A distant relative? Or something far less predictable? Catherine stood calmly in the center, prepared for the storm she knew was coming. "Are you going to explain?" Andrew asked coldly, "or do we have to find the answers ourselves?" "Yes," Catherine replied. "I'll explain everything. But first, let me make one thing clear: I didn't come here for the money." "Oh, really?" Marina scoffed. "Then why are you here?" "For fun. To keep a promise I made to your father," Catherine said firmly. Igor leaned forward. "Enough with the mystery. Tell us who you are, and why our father decided to leave you everything." Catherine took a step closer. 20 years ago, I met your father," she began. I was only 25 then, just starting my career and grieving the loss of my own father, who had been your father's close friend. His friend? Andrew repeated. Yes. Our families were close once. But after the tragedy that took my father's life, Victor disappeared from ours. Why? Igor asked quietly. Because he felt guilty, Catherine said. He always said he should have protected my father, but he didn't. That's ridiculous, Marina snapped. If he felt so guilty, why didn't he help you back then? He tried, Catherine sighed, but I refused. I didn't want his help. Then why are you here now? Andrew pressed. Why accept it now, after all these years? Because he asked me to, Catherine replied. It was his final wish. Marina jumped to her feet. Oh please, do you really expect us to believe this melodramatic story? Catherine didn't answer. She knew her words wouldn't be easily accepted. Prove it, Andrew said coldly. Prove that you had any right to what he left you. Catherine reached into her bag and pulled out an old folder. These are letters from your father, she said. He wrote to me over the past 6 years, trying to find a way to make amends for what happened to my father. She handed the folder to Andrew, who silently began reading. He wanted me to take the money, Catherine continued, not for myself, but to complete what he couldn't, to fund the charitable foundation he never managed to establish. So you're saying you'll just give it all away? Marina asked skeptically. Not give it away, Catherine replied. Use it for good. That's what he wanted. Igor frowned. If that's true, why didn't he tell us? Why keep it a secret? Because he feared your judgment, Catherine said softly. Marina shook her head. It all sounds too perfect to be true. If you want proof, I can provide it, Catherine said. But I didn't come here to argue. When Catherine finally left, Victor's children remained in the room, silent. I don't believe her, Marina said sharply. It's some kind of scam. Maybe it's not, Igor murmured. Are you serious? She snapped. You'd believe that woman? Why not? He shrugged. Maybe father really was trying to make things right. Andrew, who had stayed quiet, finally spoke. We need to find out the truth. He hired a private investigator to look into Catherine's past. If she's lying, I'll find out, he told Marina. But the deeper they dug into their father's life, the more questions they uncovered. They discovered that Victor had quietly helped many people, something his children had never known. Now they faced a choice: keep fighting for the money, or try to understand what had truly driven their father in his final years. The next day, the three of them gathered again in Victor's mansion to decide their next move. The tension was thick. So, what do we have? Andrew began, pacing the room. A mysterious woman who claims our father trusted her with everything. And apparently Igor's ready to believe her, Marina said bitterly. Igor, lounging on the couch, looked at his sister calmly. I'm just trying to be objective. Maybe she's not entirely wrong. Are you out of your mind? Marina exclaimed, indignant. This is a scam, a well-planned one at that. Maybe we should talk to her again, suggested Igor. At Igor's insistence, Catherine was invited for a second meeting. She arrived in the same formal attire, calm and composed. I'm glad you want to hear me out again, she began, sitting at the table opposite the siblings. No need to thank us, Marina snapped. We just want to understand how you managed to gain our father's trust so easily. It wasn't easy, Catherine replied. He avoided me for a long time. Only in recent years did he find the courage to reconnect. You say you've known him for over 20 years, Andrew interrupted. Why have we never heard of you? Because he wanted to protect you, Catherine replied firmly. Your father was a complicated man. He often said he regretted many of his actions, she continued. My father was his best friend. They built their first business together. But when the tragedy happened, he got scared and stepped back, leaving us behind. What tragedy are you talking about? Igor asked. Accidents, Catherine answered. They were working on a construction site, and my father died trying to save a worker. Then why didn't he help you? Marina asked. He didn't know how, Catherine replied. Victor said he felt guilty for my father's death, but he feared that the truth coming out would ruin his reputation. Marina laughed, though it was more sarcasm than amusement. How convenient. So he was just afraid of tarnishing his reputation? Yes, Catherine admitted. But later he realized the money he earned could be used for something greater. So you decided to take it as compensation? Andrew interrupted again. No, she answered calmly. I don't want this money. I want it to go to charity. After Catherine left, Andrew and Marina discussed her words at length. She speaks confidently, but something doesn't add up, Andrew said. No kidding. She's a professional actress, if you ask me, Marina replied. And if she's not? Igor said quietly. What are you on about again? Marina snapped. Just think. What if she's really telling the truth? The next day, Andrew received a report from the private investigator. You won't believe what I found, he said to Marina. Come on, tell me, she replied impatiently. It turned out their father had indeed rewritten his will after meeting Catherine. But that wasn't all, he had also left instructions for creating a charitable foundation. What kind of foundation? Igor asked, surprised. A charitable one, to help families affected by workplace accidents, Andrew explained. The siblings decided to meet Catherine again. We found documents about the foundation our father wanted to create, Andrew began. Catherine nodded. Yes. He said it was his way of making amends. But why did he decide to leave everything to you instead of us? Marina asked. Because he believed you wouldn't understand his motives, Catherine replied. He wanted you to focus on your future, not his past. After this meeting, cracks began to appear between the siblings. I think she's right, Igor said. Do you even know what you're saying? Marina snapped. You want to give up the money? And what if Dad really wanted this, he asked. Enough, Andrew interrupted. We need to decide what to do next. The siblings were at a crossroads. Each had to ask themselves whether to fight for the money or try to understand their father's motives. The next morning, Andrew invited Marina and Igor to their father's office to discuss the latest findings. They all sat at the massive oak desk. The atmosphere resembled a business meeting. So, I went through Dad's archives and found something that may shed light on the whole story, Andrew began, pulling out an old leather folder and placing it on the table. It's correspondence between Dad and Catherine over the past few years. Everything she's said is confirmed by these letters. Marina crossed her arms, her face skeptical. What exactly is written there? She asked sharply. Dad truly felt guilty about her father's death, Andrew replied, flipping through the pages. He admitted that, out of fear of losing his business, he abandoned her family. That proves nothing, Marina interrupted. It's just his words. But this proves it, Andrew said, showing a copy of the will. It states that he wants the money to go to create a foundation. Catherine is simply executing his wishes. Igor, silently studying the documents, suddenly looked up. It says here he changed the will 2 days before his death. Isn't that strange? What do you mean? Andrew asked. Maybe someone pressured him? Igor suggested. That's absurd, Marina protested. Dad was too stubborn to be pressured. But he was sick, Igor continued. Maybe he wasn't in his right mind. To check Igor's theory, the siblings summoned Victor's lawyer. The doctor confirmed that Victor was fully sane, the lawyer said. He made this decision consciously. Was anyone with him that day? Andrew asked. Yes, Catherine. She came to him, and after their conversation, he signed the documents. This information triggered a new wave of suspicion in Marina. She pressured him, she exclaimed. She made him do it. We have no proof of that, Andrew intervened. She may have simply convinced him with her story. The siblings decided to ask Catherine directly. Were you with him the day he changed the will? Andrew began. Yes, she answered calmly. And what did you tell him? Marina interjected. I told him that the foundation he dreamed of could become reality if he gave me the authority, Catherine explained. So you convinced him, Marina said sarcastically. No, he made the decision himself. I just reminded him of his promises, Catherine said firmly. Continuing through the documents, Igor came across an old photograph. It showed Victor and a young man Igor had never seen before. Who is this? He asked, showing the photo to Catherine. Catherine sighed. That's my father, Sergei. They were best friends before the tragedy. Victor never mentioned him, Andrew said, surprised. Because it was too painful for him, Catherine replied. That evening, after Catherine left, the siblings gathered again in the office. What do we do now? Marina asked. Do we just give everything to this woman? Maybe we should honor Dad's wishes? Igor said thoughtfully. Are you serious? Marina snapped. Don't you think he was trying to fix his mistakes? Andrew intervened. If that's the case, we should respect his decision. The next day, the siblings invited Catherine to discuss the final decision. We decided to compromise, Andrew began. We agreed to leave part of the estate for the foundation. The rest? Catherine asked. We want to keep it in the family, Andrew replied. Catherine considered for a moment, then nodded. I agree. The main thing is that the foundation is established. The siblings combined their efforts to complete their father's work. Together with Catherine, they launched the foundation, which became a symbol of Victor's redemption. Despite this, their relationship with Catherine remained tense. Each of them knew that the truth might be deeper than it seemed. The foundation's launch was a major event for Victor's entire family. Local media covered it actively, and the ceremony itself was solemn yet tense. Victor's children stood on stage with Catherine, who delivered an inspiring speech. This foundation is not just an attempt to fix the past. It's an opportunity to help those in situations similar to my family's. Thank you, Victor, for this chance, she said. Her voice was firm yet sincere. After the event, Andrew, Marina, and Igor gathered again in their father's office to discuss the next steps. So, the foundation is open? Everyone happy? Marina asked sarcastically, glancing at Igor. Still mad? He asked. Of course I'm mad, she snapped. We just gave up half the estate for this woman. And you think I should be happy?